All right, we're going to go ahead and go through worksheet number 7 just so you can check your answers and see if you got everything right. If there's anything you need to change, make sure you're making those changes so that you can learn from your mistakes. Starting with number 2, again, it's a very simple process. We're going to focus on our variable, in this case n, and we're going to ask ourselves, what am I doing to this n right now? Am I adding something to n? Am I subtracting something from n? Am I multiplying n by something? Or am I dividing n by something? And that's going to tell us what we need to do. Because as we know, addition and subtraction are inverse operations of each other, and multiplication and division are inverse operations of each other. So I see n, I'm dividing it by 3. Whenever we see the variable over a number, that means we're dividing. So what does that tell me I need to do? Well, I need to multiply. I'm going to multiply this left side by 3, and I'm also going to multiply the right side by 3. The 3 over 3 on the left-hand side cancels out, leaving me with just n. Okay, that's why we do the inverse operation, so we can cancel. Same thing in number 1. We were multiplying by 6. The opposite of that would be to divide by 6. Now we just work out the right side. 3 times 7 is 21, and a negative times a positive gives me a negative answer. So n is equal to negative 21. Now this means that negative 21 is a solution to this equation. If we took the n out, right, if I rewrite this equation that we started with and I replace n with negative 21, we'll see that 21 divided by 3 gives me 7, and a negative divided by a positive gives me a negative, which makes this true. We get negative 7 equals negative 7. That's going to come into play in a couple lessons from now, so I want you to keep that in mind. Down below number 3, I'm going to split all my equal signs first, just so I don't forget. Boom. Now number 3, what am I doing to n? I'm adding 5. What's the opposite of adding 5? Subtracting 5. Subtracting 5. Now 5 minus 5 gives me 0, so I can cancel those out. All I've got left is n. And on the right, I also have 5 minus 5. So we could cross those out because they do equal 0. But because there's nothing left on this side of the equation, we need some number. N has to equal something. Well, the only number that represents nothing is the number 0. So n is equal to 0. And again, if we took this original equation and replaced my n with 0, right? So instead of n plus 5 equals 5, it's now 0 plus 5 equals 5. Well, 0 plus 5 is 5. And 5 is equal to 5. So we know that that is our solution. N equals 0 works out. Number 4, again, we're dividing by 9, so we want to multiply by 9. Multiply by 9. My 9's cancel out, leaving me with n equals 4 times 9 is 36. Negative times a positive is a negative. Just like number 2. And number 5, I've got 4x. Anytime I see a number right up next to that letter, we're not adding, right? Because we'd see a plus if we're adding, we'd see a minus if we're subtracting, and we'd see a fraction if we're dividing. So the only thing we can be doing here is multiplying by 4. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying by 4? Dividing by 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. I'm always drawing a line under every single step. Yes, this is rather simple right now because it's only a one-step equation, but we're going to work on two-step equations today, and then we'll work up to 3, 4, 5 multi-step equations after that. So you want to make sure that you're clearly defining, okay, I start with this equation. I'm doing something on both sides. My new equation is going to look like this. That's what that line tells us. So the 4 over 4 cancels out, leaving me with x equals 24 divided by 4 is 6. If I were to take my x out and plug the x value I found back in, like that, 4 times 6 gives me 24. That is equal to 24, so I would know that I've got it right. This is a way that you can check your answers too, without just going, oh, Mr. Church, is this right, is this right? You could plug the number you get back in and solve it to see if you got it right. If you get something different, like 30 equals 24, that would not be true, so we know that our answer is not correct. Number 6, p plus 7 equals 10. The opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. And 10 minus 7 gives me 3. 3 plus 7 equals 10, which is absolutely right. Moving on down. 3x is 3 times x. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying by 3? Dividing by 3. My 3's cancel on the left. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. Number 8, r minus 1. I'm subtracting 1. The opposite of subtracting 1 is adding 1 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 1. Okay, this is where we always make mistakes, no matter what. There's always mistakes here somehow. Negative 7 plus 1. A couple different ways we could think about this. We could think about the number line, right? Here's negative 7. Right, if we're looking at a number line, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So negative 7 is where I'm starting. Negative 7, that's my starting point. I'm adding 1. If I'm adding, that means I'm going to the right, and that 1 tells me I'm only going 1 space to the right. So from negative 7, 1 space to the right is at negative 6. Another way that we could think about this, I've got negative 7 and a positive 1. I could arrange my negatives and my positives into a little table here. So I've got 7 negatives, I've got 1 positive. All right? I clearly have more negatives than positives, right? Put a negative sign up front. I have more negatives than positives, so my answer is going to be negative. And what's the difference between 7 and 1? Well, that would be 6. You know, if I have $7, you have $1, I have 6 more dollars. So negative 7 plus 1 gives me negative 6. Not negative 8. Okay, not positive 6, negative 6. Number 9, x minus 6. What's the opposite of minus 6? Plus 6, plus 6, boom, boom. 4 plus 6 gives me 10. Number 10, b plus 7 equals negative 3. What's the opposite of plus 7? Minus 7, boom, boom. My 7's cancel out. And now again, we're faced with one of these subtraction addition scenarios. I've got negative, I'm going to use the little table here. I've got negative 3. I've got negative 7. I don't have any positives. How many total negatives do I have? Well, 3 and 7 makes 10. And we see they're on the negative side of our table. So b is equal to negative 10. I honestly think this way is a little bit easier, especially if you're more like an analytical learner as opposed to using the number line if you're more of a visual learner. But it's up to you, whatever works. If you could just do it in your head automatically, you know, you got that practice down by now, that's great too, even better. To the back of 7, we're going to go rather quickly through this. because we got a lot of good talking points down in the front. A divided by 10. So I'm going to multiply by 10. Giving me A is equal to negative 30. K minus 7, opposite of minus 7 is plus 7. Boom, boom. Now I'm going to do my minus and plus table. I've got 9 negatives. I've got 7 positives. I've got a larger number of negatives, so my answer is negative. How many more negatives do I have than positives? Well, the difference between 9 and 7 is 2. So my answer is going to be negative 2. Number 13. X plus 2 equals 7. Opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. 7 minus 2 is just 5. Number 14. Negative 10 times A. Opposite of times negative 10 is divided by negative 10. Negative 10 over negative 10 cancels out. Now 30 over 10, that's 3. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So we get A is equal to positive 3. Down to 15. Now with this one, right? A lot of the times the mistake people make is they look at this and go, oh, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Because they see that minus 7, their brain does the opposite and they think plus 7. But we're not subtracting 7. This is what it would look like if we were subtracting 7. What we're doing here is multiplying by negative 7. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 7 is dividing by negative 7. My negative 7's cancel out. 7 over 7 is 1. Positive over a negative is a negative. Number 16, the opposite of plus 8 is minus 8. Nice and easy, giving me 6. Number 17, x minus 4, the opposite of minus 4 is plus 4. Plus 4. I'm going to do my minus and plus table again. I've got 10 negatives, 4 positives. I've got more negatives than positives, so my answer is negative. How many more negatives do I have? Well, the difference between 10 and 4 is 6. K plus 6, we're going to minus 6 on both sides. Now I've got 1 negative and 6 negatives. Altogether, I've got 7 negatives. So I get negative 7. Almost done. Number 19, v plus 5. Opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. Boom, boom. V is equal to 9. And 9k equals 27. 9 times a number equals 27. Well, the opposite of times 9 is divided by 9. My 9's go away. And I'm left with k equals 3.